The f35mm f2 was a simple wide-angle, large aperture prime lens introduced by Canon for its EOS cameras back in the 90s. Part of the first batch of all-electronic lenses made for autofocusing, it offered the photographer the option to low-light images without raising the ISO. It got on my kit in 2010 paired with the EOS 5D Mark II, and was only surpassed by the new IS-USM, an image-stabilized USM alternative, on the more expensive EF35 f2 IS. At 67 by 42mm of just 210 grams of mostly plastics, the first thing we notice on the EF35 f2 is the vintage design, from the first batch of EF lenses. It just works as it should. A plastic barrel houses the internal optics that focus the images moving the whole formula back and forth, and the complete set of features is present, being a manual focusing ring and a distance window. Inside, Canon uses its micro motor AF, using noisy gears to generate movement that must be disconnected from the manual focusing ring when we don't want to use it. While the focus is fast and precise, never really an issue with Canon, the newly developed STM or the use of the higher-end ring-type USM options are much better. This is a vintage lens after all. The distance window shows markings in feet and in meters, and at the front the 52mm filter thread doesn't rotate, good for polarizers. At the rear, the metal mount borrows the design of the first generation 50mm f1.8, later made all plastic on the Mark II, but feels strong and smooth, for years of usage. So this is a very straight-to-the-point lens that still can be found on the used market, and still offers the same focal length and aperture of the newer IS-USM. With a 7 elements in 5 groups optical formula, what the 35 f2 delivers optically is fair. Not the best, not the worst. The images appear lacking contrast wide open, visible on newer digital cameras, and the overall resolution enhances when we stop down the aperture. Colors and bokeh are also pleasing, making good use of the shorter depth of field, and images feel basic, ready for post-processing for high-impact files. It is not to say the f2 images lack resolution. Here tested with the EOS 5D Mark II, it is easy to see the details on textures with a slight loss of contrast that makes fine details bloom, probably due to spherical aberration. Stopping down enhances sharpness and easily surpasses most zooms, making it a great companion for high-precision jobs. At f8, it is easy to shoot landscape, street photography, product photography and portrait on the same level of the newer f2 IS-USM that didn't take the formula much ahead. The same can be said about axial and lateral chromatic aberrations that are invisible in everyday shots and only the geometry must be fixed in post. But it's the bokeh and the colors that make for a subpar performance, not meant to impress professionals, that are indeed better delivered by larger aperture primes. So while this lens is a good prime, great to creatively experiment with the single focal length and the effects of the shallow depth of field, it is indeed a mid-level piece for basic images. So if you're in the market for a budget prime, this can be it. But I strongly recommend investing in something even better in the future, like I did, and nice shooting.